Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm going to be reviewing a movie called Thermae Romae. I may not be pronouncing that exactly the way it's supposed to be because if you guessed, probably haven't guessed, the title is supposed to be in Latin. However, this is actually a Japanese movie. It is based on a manga of the same name. And the basic premise of this movie, and this is kind of an out there movie, but let me give you the basic idea. The movie starts off in ancient Rome with this fellow by the name of Lucius. He's an architect. Lucius is a pretty decent guy, but he's got some problems in his life. His wife is he's kind of a workaholic. His wife is always bugging him, like, Lucius, pay some attention to me. Let's have a kid. And Lucius is like, no, I got to do work. And the problem, besides that, is that he's honestly just sort of in a real creative dry spell. And the thing that Lucius ends up specializing in is the designing of baths. Now, I'm not talking about bathtubs or anything like that. I'm talking about what you and I would call bathhouses, which, of course, were common and very popular in Roman times. I mean, there's a city in the UK called Bath that, if I understand the history of the place, exists because of the popularity of baths in ancient times. And of course, baths are turned up in history and of course in movies and TV and fiction about ancient Roman times. But anyway, that's what Lucius does for a living, and he's just really plagued by the fact that he's out of ideas. He just has no idea how to make a bathhouse that isn't the same thing that he's done 100 times before. So one day he's at a bathhouse, just desperately trying to think of an idea. He tries to go get a little piece by going under the water and he's just sitting there thinking, I need an original idea. I need an original idea. I need an original idea. And then he's sort of sucked through a hole, and when he comes through the other side of the hole, he's in a bathhouse in modern day Japan. Yeah, first. And let me tell you, I'll tell you right up front, exactly why it is that this happens is never really very well explained in the movie, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So Lucius sort of wanders around this modern Japanese bathhouse, completely naked, and he observes some of the things that are going on, like the way they have. If you've never been to a Japanese bathhouse, which I incidentally have because I used to live in Japan, he knows sort of they have a little area off to the side where people sit on stools, they wash themselves, and then they get in the big communal tub with everybody else. He notices people drinking, cool drinks out of little bottles and things like this. And the amusing thing is that Lucius somehow thinks that he's been transported into the bathhouse of some slaves. He even mentally refers to them as, and this is going by the subtitles that I have seen. This is not me and my Japanese. This is the actual official subtitles for the English subtitles for the movie. He refers to them as the flat-faced tribe. Now, keep in mind, this is a Japanese movie. I guess I should take a moment to explain a little bit about what's going on in terms of casting with this movie. Lucius and actually the vast majority of the cast are played by actual Italians. The people that made this movie, the Japanese company, went to Italy. They got a bunch of Italians to be the extras. I don't recall the name of the actual actor that plays Lucius here, but he is a Caucasian guy. So is his wife. But the real trippy part of this is, like, the three main Roman guys besides Lucius are played by Japanese guys. I mean, the Emperor of the Roman Empire is played by this 60-something Japanese dude. Now, I mean, he has on a pretty nice costume, and they've kind of given him a Roman-style beard, but there is no mistaking the fact that these are some Asian dudes playing Italians. And, yeah, it's sort of kind of feels like the Japanese guy who was in the Thor movie, and how remember how despite the good intentions of the people who made the film, and a genuinely decent stab at the role by the actor in question, it just doesn't really change the fact that you have a Japanese guy playing a Norse god. So yeah, although I did have no problem with the black dude that played Balder. Yeah, whatever. That guy was badass in that role, but yeah, this doesn't work. This just doesn't work so well. I mean, it's not that he's a bad the guy. Any of the Asian actors in this, the Asian guys playing the Roman guys are bad actors. They're not. They are genuinely good actors, but it just doesn't go away that these are some Asian guys playing Italian dudes. But this is one of those movies where you have to just go with it. You have to go with a lot of weirdness in these movies, and in this movie, and you just sort of have to not. Honestly, this is one of those movies where you don't want to think about the logic of it all too much. There's a lot of situations where people just completely brush off things that in the real world people would have some very serious reactions to. But that's not really the point of this. The point of this is that Lucius, after wandering around this Japanese bathhouse for a while and getting knocked unconscious for basically walking into the women's area of the bathhouse while naked, wakes up back in ancient Rome, and he's actually got one of the little bottles of drinks that the Japanese folks were drinking out of him, and cliche, was it really a dream? No, it wasn't a dream fashion. So the movie jumps forward. A few months later, Lucius has designed a brand new bathhouse using ideas that he got from what he saw in future Japan. And I don't want to tell you the plot of the whole movie, but Lucius does end up going back and forth in time to Japanese bathhouses in the future, getting more ideas from them. And the thing that this movie does, and this is really amazing, this is one thing that I do love about anime and manga and Japanese storytelling in general, is that they have this incredible ability to make these extraordinarily mundane things seem extremely dramatic. If you're familiar with any of cooking anime and manga, like Iron Walk John, which is about cooking Chinese food, or Hikaru no Go, which is about the game of Go, they are really very good about making these very mundane things seem extremely dramatic. And I am not kidding you when I tell you that over the course of this movie, the fate of the Roman Empire ends up resting on Lucius's ability to design cool bathhouses. No, folks, really, seriously, I'm not joking about that. And for whatever flaws it has in terms of storytelling, this movie does genuinely sell you on the point that unless Lucius can design some really cool bathhouses, the Roman Empire is pretty screwed. And I also do like that they do, over the course of the movie, address the one really nagging moral issue is, how can Lucius really take pride in what he's done when all he's done is copy ideas that he got from someone else? And this even torments Lucius in the movie. This is something that really drives him up the wall. He feels like, people are calling me this great architect. Even the Emperor of Rome it has praised me for what I have done. But all I did was copy the ideas that I got from the flat-faced tribe. Man, I really wish they'd come up with something a little bit better than that, but that is the official translation, and this was something that was made by Japanese people, so... And to be fair, that would probably be something along the lines of what you would get, the reaction you would get if you were to show some Asian people to an ancient Roman. Although, actually, if I understand history correctly, Rome did have some via trade some contact with China. I don't know exactly how many Romans ever did actually lay eyes on an Asian person, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, Lucius is tormented genuinely by feelings that he is unworthy of the praise and accolades that he is getting for this. And I do like the fact that the movie doesn't have him just go out there and like, oh yeah, I came up with all this. It's cool, yeah. Oh, you think I'm awesome? Hey, thanks. No, I do like that they do redress this, and the fact that Lucius does feel this guilt, this torment, it really is key to keeping us on his side, of us being sympathetic towards him. Now, as I said, they do address this, and they even do offer sort of a very vague, rather metaphysical explanation for why it is that Lucius is able to go back and forth in time and see these things. And while it's not maybe the hard, concrete, sciencey answer that some people out there may want, in terms of the story of this movie, I feel that it's an emotionally satisfying explanation. As I said, I'll tell you that it is a somewhat metaphysical one, but it is ultimately one that I felt was it made sense for the movie, and I was ultimately happy with it at the end. Now, there's more to going on in this movie. There is more than happening in modern Japan than just Lucius occasionally popping up in a Japanese bathhouse and taking some notes. But I don't want to spoil everything that's going on in this movie for you. In terms of the acting, as I've said, I do like that they do have all the actors that they have here are good actors. From what I can tell, some of the Japanese ones are actually, a couple of them are genuinely well-known actors, or at the very least well-known enough to have their own Wikipedia pages in English. But I'm not really a great follower of Japanese cinema, so beyond that, I can't really say very much. But as I said, everybody does put in a good performance. And I do like that this movie doesn't really wink at the audience. You know, if we're watching a movie with a somewhat silly premise, there's usually moments where they sort of give you sort of like, yeah, we know that this movie is kind of silly. Well, this movie doesn't do that. It just sort of runs with the absurdities that are inherent to the storyline. And as long as you're willing to just, not ruthlessly demand a hard, logical explanation for everything, as long as you're willing to accept the fact that people don't react, are able to brush off some things that in reality they probably wouldn't just brush off, then you probably will enjoy this movie. If you're one of those people that has trouble going with some of the vague parts of a movie, or the plot holes, or the things that movies sometimes need to just sort of hand wave away in order to keep the storyline going, maybe this isn't a movie for you. But if you just want to see a very offbeat, very interesting, very different sort of movie, then this is a movie that I can strongly recommend to you. I just genuinely enjoyed watching this movie. It's a fun movie. And that's really all I can say about this. So the question, of course, is, well, where can I find this wondrous movie? Well, I actually saw this movie on my flight from Hong Kong to Sydney, Australia, while I was on vacation, so I don't know. But if you're watching this video, it means you have access to this wonderful thing called the internet. And there are websites out there that can deliver movies right to your computer. Even foreign movies that may or may not have legal releases in your home country. Now, beyond that, I don't think I'm going to say anything else. So I'm sure you wonderful and clever folks, and I know that you are wonderful and clever because you're watching my videos, I'm sure that if you decide that you would wish to see this movie, that the internet will provide for you. So, with that said, folks, as always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. You can, of course, follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi, and I will try and have some more movie reviews for you up soon. Until next time, take care and have a good one.